example, the application of RAIN RFID chips for digital product passports, I want to go a little bit into the discussion of the products that are regulated under ESPR and the retailers that you already addressed, to give us some use cases where specifically RAIN RFID chips are relevant for, the digital product passport in its entirety.
So if I think about upstream, there's an increased trend towards what we call tagging at source. So put a RAIN RFID tag on an item as early as possible, like when the item is being born. And that RAIN RFID tag can remain with the item throughout its whole life. So it can be embedded in the item. I mentioned that this technology is really, really tiny. So, we can not only see RAIN RFID tags embedded or attached to sort of solid items, but also when we think about textiles, actually RAIN RFID tags can be produced in a form factor which effectively can be sewn into the garment and is completely imperceptible. So it doesn't change the aesthetics. It's not visible on the item at all, and that actually is a real advantage in certain applications and for certain types of thing, if we come back to that that catch-all term. But thinking about some of the more hard, sort of solid applications first. One of the applications is in the area of the manufacturing of steel. So steel, I think, falls into the remit of digital product passport. And the manufacturing process for steel is obviously hugely energy intensive and intensive in terms of scarce resources for the planet. So, but also importantly, steel tends to be used in safety critical environments, right? So it's used in the construction industry, for example. It's used in roads. It's used in. We need to be able to rely on the strength and the performance and the durability of any steel that we're using in those kind of applications. So interestingly, RAIN RFID is one of the technologies that's used to enable us to be confident in the steel that is being used all around us. So, for example, when steel is being manufactured, first of all, sheets of steel tend to be stored outside because they're huge, and they can be stored in all kinds of weather conditions where barcodes can be difficult to read, and they can degrade because they're surface mounted. Whereas if we embed a RAIN tag in the steel, then effectively it can be read through the entire lifetime of the sheet of steel. But more importantly, RAIN RFID is actually used throughout the manufacturing process of steel. So it's used for monitoring the crucibles in which the steel is, for example, melted, to understand the temperature of the crucible and the location throughout the manufacturing process. So at the end of the process, the genealogy or the provenance information includes the temperature ranges and the exact chemistry of each piece of steel that ends up being manufactured. And then that can subsequently be used for post-mortem analyses, recalls. So if there is a structural defect in piece of steel A, you can quickly check and recall the other pieces of steel that may have been impacted by the same chemistry or by the same temperature variation in the manufacturing process. So that's one example that's really, I think, powerful in an upstream environment.
Yeah, absolutely.